Arcane Odyssey is one of the most fun and interesting open-world RPGs there are to play on Roblox. But one day, the way I felt about it completely changed, for good. And to explain how, I need to go back to the beginning. The true beginning. And for that origin, it doesn't even take place in Arcane Odyssey, but rather, World of Magic. Ever since I was a kid, I've been super into fantasy-type stuff. My brother and I, we used to play pretend to be knights all the time, and I would even, make my own weapons and stuff. I was actually pretty smart for a kid when it came to building things that probably shouldn't be built when you're a child. And I'm not talking about scrapping sticks together with a bunch of tape. I'm talking about I literally built a makeshift crossbow and, a ball with spikes for a mace. Funny enough, they actually still sit in my garage to this day. But to prevent myself from going off on a tangent, I need to segue this into what World of Magic meant to me. Because of my love and imagination for the fantasy aspect, World of Magic stood out to me. And at the time, World of Magic was actually fairly new. I mean, it was created just shortly before I created my account, which I created on 9/11? That's weird. This current account is actually not my original account. My original account is actually deleted because I was such a bad little kid. It's deserved, but I'm also not going to talk about it, so yeah. I'm also not going to talk about how it said 6/7 for the creation date of World of Magic. Let's move on. One of the things that stood out the most for me is the option to be the good guy. And this was truly exciting for me. There were swords, there were magic, and most importantly, I could be a hero. And for me, that's all I ever wanted. That was so exciting to me as a kid, and I mean, the idea of it still resonates with me today. And it's gonna be a common theme that you hear me talk about, that I get to be the hero. Now that sounds like a pretty good dream for a kid to have, and it's honestly still a decent dream today. The problem is that I was weak, dumb, and stupid, and quite honestly, I still am today. But despite knowing that, I still persisted, even though I knew I was gonna get beat up by whoever was the most powerful, or all of the bad guys because I was too weak or too stupid to put my stats in the right category. I still persisted because I knew it was right. This is a tale of magic and morality. I had my heart set on doing the right thing, and, gosh darn it, that's what I was gonna do. As cool as this game was, it stopped getting updates after a while, and, it kinda died out for me. So, one day, I kinda just stopped playing. But the day I started to feel a little nostalgic and wanted to come back to this old game, what happened next was a big part of my life. The game itself was no longer World of Magic, but something completely new and revamped. It was now Arcane Odyssey, the spiritual successor to World of Magic, with new mechanics, a new story, and a bigger map. Because it had been completely revamped, and honestly I hadn't played a World of Magic type game for a while, it was a little bit of a rough start for me. But going throughout the story, it kind of also teaches you how to play the game, so I got hang of it real quick. But the rules remained the same. Once again, I had the option to be good or bad, and because I had my heart set on it since I was a child, I did just that. I was going to be a hero, and this time, I was going to be the biggest one of them all. One of the most notable things about World of Magic and Arcane Odyssey is that you can choose your name, and obviously, I was going to go with my own name, Jeremiah. The last name in the first game was kind of predetermined, but for Arcane Odyssey, I chose the last name Smirnov. It was the closest I could find to my actual real name, so that's what I went with. But because of the existence of a leaderboard, I was going to try and be Jeremiah Smirnov, legendary hero. There's a higher up rank in the good guys leaderboard, and those are called the War Saints, but I wasn't going for an aggressive playstyle, nor did I really like the name War Saint. Legendary hero worked pretty well for me. As I got better in the game, I decided it was finally time to spread the good I was doing through a clan. This meant me and my friends, and potentially anybody else who wanted to join, could help out with ridding the seas of all the bad. So, I created the Order of Kree. The Order of Kree was based off of a language I created back in 6th grade called, Kree, and I actually started to write a story around, the Kree lore and all that, and I kind of just gave up on it, but, maybe one day I'll return to it. But our whole motive was to, do good. There was also some, lore-related motive, but that was, like, less apparent. A good time had passed, and we had claimed a bunch of islands, built up our islands, and even had grown as a clan. We didn't really get that far. It's honestly quite hard to grow a clan when you only have, like, 5 members, so I guess we really didn't get anywhere. And that's another thing that I was kind of disappointed with, is that, nobody really cared about that either. So, it was a weak clan with a weak leader. But to say I did a little would be a lie, because, 335 hours is not just a small amount of time out of my life that now looking back, I've wasted. Nonetheless, most of my time was spent fighting criminals, which were mostly NPCs because I can't fight for the life of me. Quite literally. But despite being constantly hunted, it all paid off in the end, because I became a savior. My reaction to it at the time was pretty weak, but it actually meant quite a lot, because it meant that I was in the top 100 good guy players. My appearance at the time wasn't the greatest. I was experimenting with how my character looked, and when the Dark Sea update came out, I even switched my whole look from blue to purple to show that I was, crazy, but eventually got phased out and turned into my current look, or what was my current look. I wanted to go for something that looked strong, yet still friendly, so I always kept a smile on my face. A hero needed to do good while also being good, and that's exactly what I was trying to go for. There was the occasional time where I would get up to some shenanigans, like covering an entire island in yellow and calling it the Pea Island. Yeah, that was a day. Eventually, I decided to finally pursue that childhood dream of mine, to become the legendary hero. And because I'm not a no-life and I actually spent some of my time outside, this actually took quite a little bit for me. Maybe like 1 or 2 months to finally get to here. But in the end, I finally did it. I became a legendary hero. I don't necessarily think that there was a point where everything started to go downhill. It was like just quite a lot of stuff over a long time. It was only yesterday at the time of this recording that I finally decided that I was fully done. As much as I wanted to be the hero, and as much as I tried, there was just a reoccurring factor that I could just never shake off. I am a loser. I don't win. That's just kind of how it goes for me. I have tried so many times to change my build, practice fighting other people, and just, in general, just trying to win for once, but I never could. So I would have to get creative with the way I protected myself. I would run away, use love gels on people, go invisible, create really fast swimming builds, and just, be a coward. Nowhere in that sentence is any of that heroic. In fact, it's quite the opposite, and it just honestly shows how much I suck. I think there was a time where I did have a pretty decent build, but for some reason, when I logged on, all of the good stuff that I had worked so hard for had just been deleted from my inventory. And I thought this was just like a glitch, like maybe it wasn't showing up, and so I was asking other people if this had happened to them. Nope, just me. Just my items gone forever. Doesn't matter, I guess. Screw me in particular. And it wasn't just that in particular that was pissing me off. There were people that, I kid you not, I have not played this game for like months, and as soon as I hop on my main slot, I'm getting followed through servers. So there must be like some just like thirsty dog humans that are just drooling at the leaderboard, waiting for me to get on just so that they can hunt me. And I kid you not, there was this one dude named Policeman 372. He waited 3 real-life days just for me to get back on so he could get his revenge on me. I think I did get the last laugh in the end on him because I baited him into saying skibbity toilet to me through the messages. So, at least that's something. But these kind of actions aren't done by regular humans. These are humans so vile and filled with hatred that they will do anything to get you. I have seen the work of the devil through these people. There is no humanity behind them. I guess it's just so wrong for me to play the game how I want to play it, because I can't even do that without somebody threatening me or telling me to kill myself. And let me tell you, I don't do too well in situations that make me really anxious. I'm talking flat out panic attacks here. Not really good for my mental health. And this gameplay in the background? This was the final straw. It was just like other times. Being followed through other servers, hunted for all I'm worth. Except beforehand, this guy had already been degrading me enough through the chat, so I was kind of already shaken up. So I knew that the love wasn't gonna hold him forever. I had to actually leave. The problem with the combat symbol is that when you're being bounty hunted, the range of it and the duration last forever. I thought swimming away would give me a pretty good chance, and I got pretty far. Or so I thought. I had gotten this far before finally running out of stamina, and by then my health had already regen back to full. And you think that would have been enough for me to finally get away? Apparently not. I'm actually gonna unmute this clip so you can hear me cry about it for your enjoyment. How am I still in combat? That is so not fair! If you couldn't already tell, I was pretty upset about that, and I'm not going to sit here and debate the fairness of that, even though I stand by my prior statement. I think it was after this point that I realized that if I suck so bad, and if I'm just going to keep on losing, then I don't really see a point in going forward. I wasn't the hero I wanted to be, and I don't think I was ever going to be. I just couldn't take any more hits like this. And not every story is a happy ending either, and that's just how life goes. But it wasn't just the end of Jeremiah Smirnov. It was the end of my entire adventure. My entire Odyssey. And I feel like as a final justice, I need to give my characters a storybook ending. This would also mean that this would be the end of Axel Velk, the leader of the Crimson Miscreants. This was my attempt at a bad guy slot, but even in trying to pursue chaos, I just couldn't bring myself to do anything other than good. I'd like to think that Axel disbanded the Miscreants and decided to make the leader someone who's strong and capable. He took one last sail into the Dark Sea and was consumed by his own madness. No one knows if he still resides there today or was lost in the Dark Sea. And as for Jeremiah Smirnov, he would get to watch one last sunset on the island of Blackreach before giving in to the weight of his failures and taking his own life. I think the whole idea of giving up on all the hours I spent working on my Arcane Odyssey stuff is part of growing up. Despite the fact that there was a point where Arcane Odyssey got me through a tough time, it has also put me in more tough times than I can honestly remember to count. And I think part of maturing is realizing that this kind of stuff just has no place in your life. And so moving on and letting go is the best option you have. And as for the people who gave me grief and chose to say and do the things that they did to me, well, I hope things get better for them. I hope that maybe one day that they can, grow up like I did. For me, this is a permanent choice. This is fully letting go, and that means no coming back. And there's some times in our life where we have to make decisions like that, and after a good while of thought, this is the best choice. And if you're wondering what happened to all my items, I'm not selfish. I gave them all away to my friend who could quite honestly use them since he actually does play this game. And as for money, I just gave it away to some randos who said they needed some money, so that's basically it. That's the end of the sob story to a long journey that took me years off my life. Was it worth it? I wouldn't say so, but it's over now, so it doesn't matter. I think I'll be sailing on to more important things now. Everyone has a story to tell, and I think it's important to remember that. But I think the most important part of my story is that I stayed true to who I was. Even though I didn't quite succeed at what I wanted to do, or who I wanted to become, I still tried, and that's honestly quite enough. And now I'm truly at the end. It's kind of funny how easy it is to just get rid of years' work, but, 337 hours is quite a lot, but it means nothing now. Down it goes, and so do I. And hey, don't think I forgot about the other files. I said I wasn't coming back, and I'm gonna make sure of that. And now I'm faced with a blank slate and an opportunity to start anew, but it won't be here, not anymore.